And then there were four. We are officially at the conference finals of the NBA. That will be a big topic in this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Mavericks, Timberwolves, Celtics, Pacers. We'll break down and give our predictions later on in the episode. We did want to start with the warm up, which is essentially that the All NBA teams are out. To just start that off, we'll list them and then we'll go from there. We can highlight some snubs. That's usually where this goes. All NBA first team for the 23-24 season: Giannis, Luka, SGA, Jokic, and Tatum. I don't really have any beef there. All NBA second team: Brunson, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and Kawhi Leonard for the second team. And then the third team rounds it out: Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Hallie, LeBron James, and Sabonis. I feel like when you get into NBA second team and third team is when maybe you start having some beef with some of the players. I think the first tweet I saw about it was something along the lines of the Celtics having less all NBA players than the Suns and the Lakers is a travesty.
Well, I'm looking at these three all NBA teams. At first, I was like, wow, I'm going to have a super controversial opinion in that. Like, I don't really have a controversial opinion about it. Like, they seem pretty solid to me. Three Phoenix Suns, by the way, I do want to report, unfortunately, Mike Budenholzer got the job. My luck interviewing for the Phoenix Suns head coaching position did not go that well when I was in Arizona. Thank you to Nick Grenowitz 2 weeks ago for doing the episode with me. Thank you to our guy Chase Bunker for doing the episode with you last week. Mm-hmm. The ironic part about Justin and I having, two pods not together, and, Justin doing last week with Chase and then Nick and I doing the episode before, but we actually saw each other in real life for the first time in like 2 years while one of those podcasts is out. Like, Justin was up here in the Philly area, so we linked up, heard his dad play in his band and all that stuff. And so that was super fun, but I did think that was hilarious that it's like, we talk on screen every week, and that it's when we finally link up in real life is that when, neither of us are on the pod here for a little bit.
I forgot. Like, Florida, man, you forget how crazy it is driving up north at times. Dude, the hills up in that area that we were at was insane. I was like, this is crazy. I'm going to crash. What the hell? So
yeah, it's crazy how quickly you like learn how to forget in snow. I mean, I think out in Claremont, west of Orlando, is literally the only time I think I ever drove on a hill in Florida. I mean, the biggest hill in Jacksonville, as you know, is probably the Dames Point Bridge.
Yeah, most likely.
Definitely quite different weather-wise. My biggest beef, not to totally get off the topic of the All-NBA teams, the biggest thing that I find that specifically Pennsylvania drivers really seem to struggle with compared to other states is merging on the highway. They have no clue. Like, someone either, you're supposed to zipper, or you just either get in the other lane if it's open, or you speed up so the other car can slide in, or you just slow down. If the other car is going really fast, you let them in front of you. No one understands that. And I mean, it's on every major highway. It doesn't matter whether you're on the Schuylkill. It doesn't matter whether you're on the Blue Route or 422 or whatever it may be. Like, and every state has their own different thing. Because, like, when you live in New York, obviously everybody is hella aggressive. Like, it's just if you have an inch of space, they're going for it. Somebody's going.
Yeah. They utilize the bumper more than you would like them to, man.
Yeah. Florida is just chaos. I don't even know how to describe Florida. Is more of it. Florida, this is really off topic. We don't need to keep doing this. But Orlando, it's all the tourists, because a lot of people don't know where they're going. So you start driving towards Disney, and then everyone realizes, like, oh, by the way, I got to get across 4 lanes of traffic to get off the exit right now.
I drive in Florida. I drive like everyone's trying to crash into me. I just assume everyone is trying to hit me, and it's worked out so far. I might have just jinxed it, knock on wood or something. Yes, I don't know.
Like, knock on wood for real.
Holy moly. But yeah, man, I somehow apparently picked the one weekend to come up to Philly where it was going to feel like winter again, because my parents told me after I left it was hot, it was nice. Although I guess you guys just had a crazy storm the other day. My parents were without power for almost like 12 hours.
I wouldn't know. I was in Arizona, so I feel bad. Apparently it
Oh!
was, but I kind of dodged that one.
Nice. Yeah, apparently it was rough, and my parents were saying trees are down, like, everywhere, so who
I
knows?
believe it. It was supposed to have been bad. Arizona, incredible, by the way. Man, what a state. Like, really just lot of different great hikes we went on there. But again, we don't need to recap that. I mean, I heard people arguing for the guard spot between first and second team that Brunson should have been on it over Luka. But like, am I really going to knock Luka Doncic off the all NBA first team list? Like, Jalen Brunson had an incredible season and he is rightful MVP candidate.
Agreed.
At some point when you're that close and we're splitting hairs, because it's not like the Mavericks were a slack team either. Like, they were clearly just as good as the Knicks were. They're in the conference finals right now. Like, especially in the second half of the season, the Mavs really turned it on. And like, it does kind of boil down to a vacuum then at some point. It's like, which player do I think is better? And I think 100 out of 100 people in the NBA would take Luka Doncic over Jalen Brunson. And that's not even meant to be an insult to Jalen Brunson. It's just how good Luka is. Like, we know what he is.
I agree. I would say at some point, I think it gets to a point where it's a lot closer than it used to be, which is, I guess, where people start having that conversation. The main people that I've seen, that are getting named as the snubs, I guess, would be Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, and Victor Wembanyama. I mean, Jaylen Brown.
It's the winning thing, but you kind
Yeah.
of brought it up earlier with the Celtics, where it's like, how do the Celtics have less all NBA players because they only have Tatum on the first team? And that's kind of valid, but it's like the Celtics' strength and the reason they're a great team is because of their depth. It is their, like, we know Tatum and Brown are a 1-2, and I mean, Jaylen Brown had a hell of a game last night in game 2 against the Pacers with 40 points, but it just, again, which they have Drew Holiday, they have Derek White, they have Kristaps Porzingis, like, they have Al Horford coming off the bench. Like, those are guys that have made a huge impact, and that's kind of the reason that they're successful. Like, it's tough. Like, Brown's stats don't match, and that's part of being on a good team and having to sacrifice like that. And that's part of what sacrificing on a good team comes with, is that sometimes you lose out on things like all NBA, and that's not an easy decision, because when you're making, second, third team, first team all NBA, like, that usually comes with a pretty high financial incentive. But that also sometimes is where you're the victim of being on a good team in a way.
So, I guess if we are going to pick, like, because again, the whole thing is, who are you going to replace?
Right.
Let's do it. Let's name 2 or 3 players that we would say Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown could potentially replace. And we'll compare them, right? So just because he's on the third team, let's put Hallie there, let's put Steph Curry there, and let's put Booker there.
Okay.
And we'll compare those. Steph, so right now with Hallie there, hold on, let me make sure I have everybody on here. I probably should do this all together. Curry, make sure I get the right one. Just don't want to put Seth in there. And who was the other? Hallie, Steph, and Booker?
Yeah.
Devin. All right, let's run these numbers. For just this season, again, because this is all stat, the player that has the most, green in terms of anybody that uses StatHead for these comparisons, green means they're the one leading in the category, would be Hallie. He's got 10 assists, which is more than everybody. He's got a steal. He's got more blocks. He's got more box plus minus. He's got more VORP. Maxey doesn't have the most in any, and that's not to hate on him. Curry has the most in terms of games played, 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage. Booker only has points per game. Jaylen Brown would be leading in what looks like assists, steals, and field goal percentage. But VORP and box plus minus comparison, Hallie and Steph kind of run away with that. It looks like Maxey's VORP and box plus minus is equal, if not a little better than Booker's. And Jaylen Brown's, again, I mean, you look at the team in general, it's actually surprisingly low.
So who do you have? I guess, like, you have all the raw data in front of you right now. What's your main conclusion from it? Like, what do you, because it sounds to me like, because to me, I look at the impact on winning too. And I know it's a little, again, recency bias with them being in the conference finals, but it's like, I'm hard to remove Hallie on there, given their success. I mean, even with the IST, like they were in the finals of the in-season tournament this year. Like, I don't know, hard to knock that.
If you're removing anybody, I think the argument, again, I'm just looking at the raw numbers here, so I'd have to dive a little bit more. I think you replace, it might sound like a homer, I think you replace Maxey with Booker.
No, that's fine. If it's going to be Booker or Steph, it's going to be the one of them. And Steph, I think at that point gets the legacy bump, if anything. Yeah, I mean, the Suns were really up and down all year. The other thing is the injury reality. Like, that's why Embiid is not here. Obviously, Embiid would have made one of these top 3 teams.
There was hold on, I have the whole list of guys that were hurt and couldn't. Scotty Barnes, Joel Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns, Trae Young are some big names that just didn't meet that 65 game criteria.
For what it's worth, I think Embiid is the only one who would have been on these first 3 teams. And I don't really have any beef with the big men the way it shook out. Like, you got to have Jokic on there. You got to have AD on there. And Sabonis had a great season as well. Like, I think he should definitely be on one of the, like, if anything, I'm dropping one of the guards off the 3rd team. If Embiid were to be on it, I would keep Embiid and Sabonis on it. I'm gonna and then drop one of the guards.
So dude, it's like Booker being there isn't as much of a change as I thought. Head to head, Maxey and him. Maxey's got more games. Booker's got more points. Booker's got more rebounds. Booker's got more assists. Field goal percentage is higher. Free throw effective field goal is higher. But Maxey's got him on the box plus minus in the VORP, barely.
And that's the thing. These are so close that I'm not really like, because you're right. I think the one point that you always remember, because I do this with all-star voting every year, right? Is it's like, if you're going to take somebody off,
you got to take someone out.
Who am I taking out? Right. Like, if you're beefing about it, right? Who are you putting on instead? I don't know. Like, I'm fine with Booker in that spot. Like, I don't think Maxey is close. He's one of the first out to me.
Very close, yes. And I'm talking like Booker. Booker's got more points, but Booker's got more points by like 2.8 points per game. Like, you know what I mean? Booker's got 27. Maxey's got 25. Booker's got total rebounds by less than 1 a game. More assists by like 0.7 a game. You know what I mean? Like, it's so close. 3-point percentage, like they're so close. It's insanely close. It's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. The other ones, Victor Wembanyama and Jaylen Brown. I know Jaylen Brown. I mean, again, I get it. The Boston Celtics. You already had that comment. Victor Wembanyama, I agree, has really come out and just, lit the whole world on fire. 21 points per game, 10.6 rebounds, 3.6 blocks per game. A lot of hype. And he's a rookie. He's going to be there next year or the year after. Like, I'm not worried about it. And I understand that shouldn't mean or disqualify you for this year. But still, man, like, yeah, I think it's at some point you got to cut it off. That's why we have this snub conversation every year. At some point you got to cut it off. But we could do the same thing with Wemby. Do you want to compare him to Sabonis? Do you want to compare him to whoever else? You know what I mean? Anthony Davis. Do you want to compare him to any of the other big guys? I guess, now we're working our way up to the first team, and I feel like those guys are essentially untouchable in this conversation. So, you know what I mean? Like, are you going to replace him with an Anthony Davis? Are you going to replace him replace Sabonis with him? We can look at those numbers, but I don't know.
No, and Wemby's bigger beef is with DPOY. Like, that's where, because he was such an impactful player already on that end. And like you said, the offense is already coming along. Wemby's going to make plenty of all NBA teams for the future. I think against Gobert, and I'm fine with Gobert winning it, but like, that's where, if you want to have the argument, I think you can make a little more compelling. Like, the Spurs stunk this year, and that's not Wemby's fault, but like, I think that did factor in a little bit as well. Like, that team was just so bad. But I have less of a beat. Like, to me, you got better arguments for Maxey and Jaylen Brown than you do for Wemby. But also, it's the same token, I'm struggling to take any of these guys off. Like, the first team, maybe you want to argue that you could have put, if you want to put Tatum there, you could have put like Anthony Edwards there or something, but I don't know. Tatum, they were the number one seed all year. Like, he was the best player on it. Like, and again, that kind of boils down with who would you take if you're just picking in a vacuum. And I feel like I'd still take Tatum, SGA and MVP candidate for most of the year. The Thunder were the number one seed. Giannis is Giannis. Jokic is Jokic. Like, I don't know. I don't really have any heavy beefs with any of these. Like, I know I started with that, but I feel like this is a pretty good selection all around. My beef, just looking at least the big men, Sabonis, Davis, and Wemby,
is honestly Sabonis should probably be above Davis. Like stat wise, he's just got him in almost every category except for points. But the offense is running through Sabonis more. He's got almost 8.5 assists a game. Like I would put Sabonis at number 2 and Davis at number 3. I don't know.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. Like AD's such an impactful defensive player, but you're right. Like Sabonis, I think when we had Vince Silva on a few weeks ago, like he's from Sacramento, a big Kings guy, and Sabonis obviously not quite nobody is Jokic, but he always plays like that mini Jokic type role. Where he's such a facilitator. Like him and De'Aaron Fox run that 2-man game. Like, yeah, there's been a lot of success there. Like I'm a big believer in Sabonis. Like even after last year in the playoffs where he kind of struggled a little bit, like this year I really thought he kind of came back with a really nice response this year, put together a great campaign.
Just one last final thought on it, just because I have the numbers up. Sabonis compared to Davis in terms of things he has higher stat-wise on the season: total rebounds, total assists, games played, field goal, 3%, effective field goal, box plus minus, and VORP. Davis has him in points. Davis has him in steals. Davis has him significantly in blocks and free throw percentage, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we love numbers around here.
And for those wondering, by the way, Sabonis is the one that Anthony Davis cannot beat. Remember,
he can't beat. That is true. He cannot beat Anthony Davis cannot beat Sabonis. The European hex is alive and well.
4-0 this season. So
yeah, and it's a shame we didn't get to play in. We were almost real close to that for a sec.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Welcome everybody to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart.
I just ordered mine. First Smart dumbbells. Let's go. Strength emoji.
Okay.
There is quite literally 0% chance you get this player.
Wow, 0%. Now I feel like this is a challenge. They're playing right now, or they used to play?
No, I don't believe they're playing. No.
Oh, all right. Yeah, let me try to throw a pebble in the ocean.
Literally. Okay, so played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. The Orlando Magic in 2004. 2003, 2004.
Okay. It's not Jameer Nelson, is it?
No.
Okay.
From where we got him from? Georgia, not the state, the country.
Wait a minute, hang on. Wow, he played for the Magic in 2004. He's from Georgia. Okay.
That's the only time he played for the Magic. He played 52 games. He only started 2 of them. It was his rookie year.
Oh, you're deep in the trenches. Wow.
Yeah,
okay, this is deeper than I thought, because I was like, Turkoglu's from Turkey, so it's not him.
You got the right idea, though. Yeah, you definitely have the right idea in terms of player,
he
too.
Played there for 50 games. It was his rookie
year. Most games would be with Atlanta, 2005 to 2006 to 2012, 2013. Plays the center position.
It's not Omri Caspi, is it?
No, but you're in the right direction.
Oh man, Atlanta.
After Atlanta went to Milwaukee for 2 seasons, then did a season with Dallas, did 2 seasons with the Golden State Warriors in 2016, 2017, and 2017, 2018. Finished his career 18-19 with the Detroit Pistons, where he only started 3 games.
Wait, you say he was on the Warriors in 2017, 2018?
Yep. No, yes.
Oh, was it Zaza?
It is Zaza.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no. Zaza's way more. He played recently. He also broke Kawhi Leonard's foot, which is what I feel like most people remember.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a controversial one. Yeah, because the Spurs were winning that game. And there was a lot of what ifs. I mean, listen, it's the Warriors with Kevin Durant. Like that was quite a squad, or a lot of people didn't necessarily think they were going to beat them, but it would have been cool to see that series play out, but what are you going to do? Shout out Zaza Pachulia. Did not know he was Georgian, actually. I didn't know where he's from.
Also, I don't understand.
I have a tie-in. My bad. Finish this, though. But I have a tie-in when you're done.
AI-powered dumbbells don't make sense to me in my head. Like, dumbbells serve a very simple purpose. Why do you need AI for that?
Yeah, so like I've seen the weights and the dumbbells where they have where it's the one unit, and then you can either just add things to it. So like it can be a 10 up to,
and it does look like that, but that's not AI powered. That's the part I'm confused. Is it just going to tell you did a rep too fast, too slow? Like at that point, you just really need a clock. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to the website.
I don't know. Let me know what it does because it's like you could auto do them, but like, wouldn't you have to kind of like manually put that in
So
anyway?
it's Kabata Fitness. I don't know. I probably shouldn't be
It's like
clicking on
ciabatta
random.
bread.
Yeah, but with a K.
Yeah, okay, all right.
All right. Let's see. First, dumbbell making your sweat session smarter. Let's push some weight. Okay, but tell me how it works. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's
What
like
is
a
it?
whole hype video. We don't.
What does it give you stats when you basically like how your lift is going essentially?
I don't know. Hold on. I'm
So like
watching.
critique your form live?
They're texting each other about getting sweaty.
Oh, that's
This is
interesting. Usually
crazy.
you got paid for that usually. Oh,
Hey,
uh,
yo, hey.
I I had Georgian food for the first time. That was my tie-in the other day, like
Oh,
literally
okay.
yesterday. I had Georgian food. There's a restaurant, Reading Terminal Market. It's called like Sama Somi, and I probably butchered that pronunciation, but oh my
Is it
god,
good?
dude, it was unbelievable. Like I got this. It was this bread bowl. It had an egg in it. There was like feta and all sorts of other cheeses. It comes with this chili paste too, and bait. Oh my goodness, dude, I gotta send you a picture. It was wonderful.
I am down to try all foods. Like I don't have a food I don't like. This is not AI powered.
Was it smart or is it AI powered?
Okay, so what it is like the ones you talk about where you can click to different weight
Yeah,
levels.
yeah, yeah.
And it has that, but it's a dial at the front. You tell it what one you want it to be. I want it to be 50 pounds, and then it does that. And then it's connected to an app, so it'll count the reps for you.
Okay. All right.
Eh.
Like I get it. Like I see what it's trying. I just yeah. All right. Fine. Whatever.
Oh, and then
Like
it tells you like how many calories you burn and all that. Okay, whatever.
I get it.
Oh, and it's like a Peloton thing where it's all in a class and you can kind of talk trash to each other. No, I'm good.
That's fine. Like I get so whatever. I get
Yeah.
spending money on fitness though, so that's like I don't really want to knock it. Like
Hey,
I actually think
plug, by the way, anybody wants to sponsor the show, let's do it. I've been working tirelessly on a garage gym and it's awesome. Like it's going to be so nice once it's done.
yeah, dude, I'm excited for you. And we talk about it all the time. Like that's one of when we get a house, that's going to be one of the first things we do is invest in that. Just because I mean, look, I run a lot, but the reality is like, look, when it's raining, when it's freezing cold, like there are times where it just may not be ideal to run. I'd like to do other stuff anyway.
I
So
did I got dumbbells. I got this it's like a band platform thing. Nicole got it for my birthday. And
mhm.
so we have that. I've got an Indo board, which is one of my favorite things to do. And then I've got like a yoga mat out there. So my goal is to do like 3-4 days of fitness, like weightlifting stuff with the things I have. And then one day of like yoga to try to stay loose. I'm actually I because of my birthday, Quinn's birthday, I've been eating like crap. So I was like, all right, you get this week. And then once you're done this week, it's time to like we're flipping the switch. We're back into it. There's no excuse because my main excuse was, oh, I'd rather be home with Quinn, or I can't go because I have to be home with Quinn. Now it's like Quinn's sleeping. I'll just go to the garage and work out.
Well, yeah, that right. And it gives you a lot of flexibility on that
Yeah.
front. Even if she wakes back up, you can put her back down, go back
Yep.
out, all that fun stuff. Happy first birthday to our executive producer, Quinn Cousart, by the
Oh yeah.
way. Pretty sweet. Leaves her
Hated, hated cake.
it's funny because I texted your wife this as well because I went to two other first birthday parties just in the past like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Um, both 1 year olds, both absolutely hated cake the way Quinn did. Just
Quinn
didn't
was
want
so pissed.
anything to do
Yeah.
with it. Like
She was
both of
pissed.
them just roundly or resoundingly rejected this cake. Didn't want anything to do with it. Strictly for the photo ops.
And I'm
It,
like, "Listen here, you little I spent $40 on this thing, at
the
least
youth
take a
don't
bite."
care. No, well, it looks like you got to eat it for yourself. Then you got to still get your
That's
money's
the
worth. I'm not saying
problem is, like,
that.
I'm trying to get in the gym, I can't be eating a whole cake.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just eat half the cake.
Well, we did eat half. We did eat half
That's
last
what I
night.
mean. It's all about balance or something like
Yeah.
that. Leaves a review on iTunes, good or bad. I'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And we are looking for, our next subscriber, which would be number 69, good number, up on, YouTube. You can find us Driving Dish NBA Podcast, subscribe there. You'll get notifications when the episodes are coming out. And there's also video of the podcast, that you can watch if you so please.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
So on to the conference finals. Mavericks, Timberwolves, Celtics, Pacers. Which one would you like to start with? Because I feel like the Pacers Celtics series is already over.
I mean, well, I was gonna go West anyway, because you're right.
Okay.
I think it's a much more compelling series. And it's funny because I think Pacers Celtics was more compelling than most people gave it credit for. Given I think Porzingis being out really like made it a lot more wide open. And then I just watch, and again, we'll get back to this more in a little bit, but like watching Indy blow game one, like that was a spectacular meltdown. And I don't know that you recover from that meltdown. And now I mean, now you got to deal with potential Hallie injury too, but it's like, that's one where you win that game, you go out, all the momentum's on your side, you steal one on the road, you set it off on a good note, and then it doesn't really matter what happens in game two. Now you're down, 2-0 going back to Indy. Not the end of the world. Again, we'll get back to that a little bit because I do want to go over to Minnesota and Dallas. Dallas did take the first game. My preseason or pre-series predictions, by the way, I tweeted these, were Minnesota in 6 and Boston in 6. I still think Minnesota's fine here. I think there's probably a little bit of a hangover coming off the Denver series.
It's a big win. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dallas, I feel like they had to have that, most importantly, and give them credit. Like, they're top 2 guys, and that's why you have them, really carried them in this game. Like, Luka and Kyrie Irving were both phenomenal. I think if you're Minnesota, you feel pretty good overall knowing that, hey, we kind of limited Dallas everywhere we needed to. Ant and Cat both had games that they probably would like to forget about. Chris Finch was talking to already in their post game about how they just had kind of an aggressive film session. It just, they didn't seem, which is surprising because they clearly coming off a win of that magnitude, the way that game 7 was against Denver, for them to just not be ready for it. But yeah, I mean, because this is the first series where they're true favorites. Like, I think most people are picking Minnesota in this series against Dallas, but Dallas is not a team you can sleepwalk against by any means.
Dallas frustrates the hell out of me.
I sort of agree.
You watch this game, it's just Luka and Kyrie ISO, and then they shoot a ball, and there's like nothing. Like, that is it. That might sound bad, but like it's so frustrating. Like, you watch even the Thunder when they were playing, it's like the Thunder were moving the ball. They were having these great passes for dunks and throwing it to Chet. Although in the last game of that series, I went to bet Chet Holmgren over 2.5 assists. And again, it was Quinn's birthday. I might have had a little bit too many drinks and accidentally bet the under. So the whole game, every time Chet got the ball, I was like, pass it. It ended up actually hitting. So I made a decent amount of money off that game because I put, listen, we're going to go down a hole here. I put $75 on the Mavs to win at halftime when they were down by like 10 or something like that. They were like plus 260. That hit, and Chet's under 2.5 assists hit. I was feeling
there's aggressive buying the dip. I respect that.
It was aggressive, but that's my point. Is like the ball movement is so stagnant. So you would think from a Timberwolves standpoint is like, yeah, just limit Luka and Kyrie and you'll win. That didn't seem to happen in game 1, but
yeah,
that's all you got to do. I even said this with Chase, and I've felt it pretty much from the second the Timberwolves and Denver Nuggets were going up against each other. Is I just think whoever won that series is going to win the whole thing.
Yeah,
I still kind of stand by that, although a little more nervous now that they've dropped one game. But we will see. And they play tonight, so by the time this drops, we'll know what game 2 looks like. If they go down 2-0, then we're really starting to have a conversation of like, all right, what are we doing here?
I mean, sure, but then we just saw. I mean, I don't know, because it's like they go in, and even last series, like you shock the world and go up 2-0 and you win 2-0 and win in Denver. And then I watch them lose 3 in a row and I go, man, yeah, you're not recovering from that. Like, you lose 2 in Minnesota, you lose game 5 in Denver, and then to gut out that 6 and 7 the way they did. You're right. It's because Denver won the title, because I felt the same way you did. I said Timberwolves and Minnesota, Timberwolves and Nuggets. I said the winner of that. I said that was the NBA Finals to me. Like, I truly feel like whoever won that series was going to win the title. Given how Boston has just been up and down at points. But I will say, because Minnie hasn't been here before, like I'm less bullish on that. Dallas is a really good squad. And like Boston, I don't know what on earth or how on earth to describe Boston at this point. Because I've never seen an elite team just play with their food the way that Boston does.
I've been saying that all week. It's like, why do you let any of these teams get a game? Why do you let them get a game?
Because it's like they let Miami without Jimmy get a game. They let the Cavs win a game, and that was a series that I felt like they were the heavy favorites and should have been the heavy favorites in.
Oh,
even with the Pacers now, like they probably should have blown game 1.
Bam is probably someone we could have mentioned for all NBA. I feel like he might have a little bit of beef there.
Yeah, but again, I don't know who you're replacing.
Who you taking out?
And the Heat being kind of a regular season team didn't do it for me either.
Right.
I don't know though. It's like I think Minnesota is going to respond. Full disclosure.
I hope so.
I think they'll bounce back tonight. I struggle to see them on their home floor going down 0-2 like that. But yeah, Dallas is like you have to treat Dallas with the same intensity that you treated Denver with. Like Dallas has been one of the best teams in the NBA in the second half. They have smoked the trade deadline. Like
they literally
been big.
They literally have 2 of the best NBA players in the league.
Yeah, and I get why it's a frustrating watch because it is. It's a lot of Luka iso ball. Like he's arguably the most ball dominant player in the league. But those role guys, like you got to give them a lot of credit. Like, I mean, not just in Game 7 of that Thunder series, but like Derek Lively in his rookie campaign, like keeping the possessions alive the way he has. Guys like PJ Washington, the Daniel Gaffords of the world, like they're going to be the keys here as well. I mean, that's why you feel good about if you're Minnesota and going, we limited everybody except their top 2 guys. The other part of me goes, this is still Luka and Kyrie. Like limiting them is a little bit more difficult than we're probably giving it credit for. Again, I still think Minnesota is the better team, but Dallas has these like bad spurts in the middle of games where you're just like, oh my God.
They don't hit anything. They just go like minutes without hitting a shot. And it's like,
but man,
if you just pass the ball a little bit more, damn. But
I know they've been great at the end of games though, and they keep finding a way. And so I think you got to give them a little credit there.
Something should be said too for you look at the 4 teams left: Mavericks, Timberwolves, Celtics, Pacers. What's the oddball out? It's kind of Kyrie. You look at everybody else and they're young, budding stars. Kyrie's like the established guy. You got Hallie, you got Siakam, you got Tatum, you got Brown, you got Ant. Like you've got all these budding stars. You could probably put Cat in there too if you wanted to. You got all these budding stars, and Kyrie's out here as the experienced vet now, and he's cooking. He showed it in Game 1. He came out hot. He was ready to go.
Yeah, you're right. Because honestly, his Game 7 against the Thunder was kind of as well. He was a little bit sort. He was better down the stretch, but he didn't really shoot the ball well. Right. And maybe he mentioned after the game, like Ant said, "I want Kyrie right away," and Kyrie said, he's like, "I took that to heart a little bit. I took that challenge on." So that. The goods and the bads that come with Anthony Edwards and just trash talking in general is like, look, sometimes you motivate these guys, but I also love that's why, and Kyrie said this on post game too, is like, that's why you love Ant because Ant's not afraid of the challenge. Like he probably doesn't get enough credit defensively. The way everybody obviously focuses, he's such a dynamic 3-level scorer. He's a really good defender as well. And quietly, Ant really hasn't been efficient his last few games here. Like he's had great fourth quarters, which obviously cleans up a lot. And when you're winning, it doesn't really matter. But I think they would like to get him going earlier in some of these games. Like I would look for him to really be aggressive in Game 2. We'll see how that ages, but I think he's going to kind of come out early, looking to score.
And I do feel like you can't let Dallas get this next game. You can't let it get. You can't.
Yeah, you get in the danger zone just because you're going back to Dallas. Like you go down 3-0, 2-0s are fine. You can recover. It's not ideal, but you can recover from 2-0s. Right. Like you go down 3-0, you're not climbing out of that one.
Yeah.
What do you think about what was your original read on the series? Like what was your prediction? I guess
for Timberwolves Mavs.
Yeah.
I thought the Timberwolves defense was going to show up and show out. So I thought the Timberwolves were probably going to win it in 6. I think this goes 7 now, though. I do. Okay. I think it goes 7, and it's a toss-up. I'm still very convinced. Like I said, anybody that came out of Nuggets, Timberwolves is going to win the whole thing. So I'm going to stick with that. I'll say Timberwolves in 7. I think it's going to be Timberwolves Celtics. Now, what makes me nervous about that is if the Celtics clean house, like just do it in 4, and Timberwolves Mavs does go 7.
Yep.
That's what the Celtics need, honestly. Best case scenario is you get rest, you're chilling, you're just watching and letting the bloodbath continue, and then they just walk into the slaughterhouse with you.
Yeah, I mean, Boston has had like, look, it's broken really well for Boston. There's no way around it. And I think there's two arguments to that. One is that you're right. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be ready to go. The counterpoint is they haven't played anybody yet. They play with their
I
food against
will
Minnesota. You might get eaten alive here a
I
little bit.
I will promise you right now, if the Celtics win, I'm gonna say they had the easiest path of any NBA team to win the whole thing ever, and I will scream it from the top of my lungs. And Ed Sheeran can stop wearing his Celtics jersey because that pissed me off. I thought we were boys. I'm taking down my pin post of him yelling Duval. I can't have that. This is crazy.
Yeah, listen, man. I mean, of course, from a Homer perspective, that is, and I think honestly, most people, I think when you look at the rankings of who everyone wants to win, I think almost everyone has Boston at last that doesn't live in Boston. Like,
Probably.
it's not even close to me in terms of who I want. Like, I'm fine with any of the other three teams winning. I could, Indy be their first title, Minnesota be their first title, and it's a crazy city long drought for them. For
Yeah.
Dallas, they haven't won since Dirk. Luka gets number one. Like, I'm cool with that. But yeah,
Get out of here. Celtics can get out of here. Go back to the Dunkin' Donuts. They did the 40-ounce, very large tumbler that just came out. Go get that and get an NBA title another time. It's not
yeah,
this
like
year.
we're fine. Like, we're fine on Boston title, but we don't. No one wants another Boston title. They've had enough for the millennium. Like, let these other squads get a chance here now. I don't know. Yeah, definitely not. But I say all that to say, listen. I thought this Indy series, because again, really impressive how Indy closed out the Knicks. I think they've been feisty all year, and I think the way they play, such a good flow of offense, and that they're going to run with you and they're going to get you out there. I think Siakam too was an underrated deadline acquisition.
Very much
Our
so.
boy TJ McConnell coming off the bench, giving them great minutes. And for that reason, and given that the Celtics love to play with their food, I thought this was going to be a feisty series. I have Celtics in 6, but like, there were a lot of people who were like, oh, this is going to sweep. This is in the Cavs kind of territory. I don't feel like that. I do think obviously Boston is the more talented team, but after
They
game
were
one,
not even that. After game 2, the Celtics were down 20 points, and
yeah,
before halftime, brought it to like 8. I was like, oh, right.
yeah,
Okay.
like game
Oh,
game two, I thought kind of felt better if you're Boston for, because you had such a bad Tatum game in game one. I mean, he was completely inefficient, horrible
mhm.
turnovers down the stretch. It was one of those like feeding the Jason Tatum
Yep.
playoff narrative
And
type
that
games.
followed him into game 2.
And
That
it did,
followed
but
him.
man, but no, see, I don't think it should have, because like, look, at the end of the day, he hit the two big shots to win them that game in overtime and take them
Yep.
home. And it's like, look, and that's why if you're the Pacers, you got to close that out. Like, you
Yeah.
can't keep giving good teams a shot to, like, you keep letting them get off the mat. They're going to eventually get you at some point. Like, they are a better team than you. And that's why I'm like, yo, if you're the Pacers, you had to come away with that game, and to have that meltdown, to not foul up 3, the Hallie turnover late, like, those are just complete brutal, unforced errors. And it is like, I do look at this series now more of a 4 or 5. If you're Indy, you go in and you get game 1, and Porzingis, they're talking about, isn't coming back until game 4. Like, all of a sudden you're looking at maybe a potential going to Indy, and you're up 2-1, and all this pressure's on Boston. You got to work KP back in. Now you're Boston, you're up 2-0. You're kind of chilling. You get KP back. Even if you lose game 3, it's not the end of the world. Like, yeah, this is an extremely ideal scenario for Boston. And if Hallie's unable to go, like, yeah, it becomes a what are we doing here? Like, we might as well just sim them forward to the finals.
Agreed. Agreed. And I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it all broke the way they did. Like, we'll get to the despair for some of these teams in a little bit, but it's like, look, the Knicks got hurt. They dealt with a ton of injuries, and that probably cost them down the stretch towards Indy. Miami never really got off the ground with Jimmy getting hurt. The Sixers sixered. Who else is left? Like, I wasn't taking Cleveland over Boston. Like, that Cleveland team had all sorts of problems all year, and that's again something we'll talk about a little bit more in the second round despair rankings. But first, we do got to get into who's balling, who's falling, our NBA version of the stock market. We always like start with good with bad. And so balling for me this week is Trajan Langdon. Congratulations. He is the new president of basketball operations for the Pistons. He previously is New Orleans GM. So obviously a little bit of a promotion here, being in charge of everything. Detroit, needless to say, has a lot of work to do. We didn't get the chance. You and Chase talked lottery last week. I can't believe Detroit got 5th again. Like, that is just so unbelievable. And in this draft, because there is the irony too with Atlanta. It's like Atlanta playing team beats the odds, first number 1 pick in franchise history. It's in the worst draft of all time, maybe. Like, this draft is rough. And I mean, I've had multiple like intelligent college people tell me that this is just not that great of a draft. Regardless, though, you know, come in, you got to try to build it from ground up. I don't know how you feel about
it. Sounds like he has really good draft, a really good draft record. You go back to the Pelicans and the Nets. Some of the players that he's credited with selecting is Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. They put Zion Williamson on here, but I don't think you get to claim that. Like,
you don't get credit for the obvious number 1 pick.
Like, I mean, I guess you do get credit for taking the number 1 pick. Like, I would
galaxy brain it. You didn't pick Anthony Bennett.
You didn't trade the number 1 pick to number 3 pick for Markelle Fultz. Yeah, sorry, I had to bring that up. So either way, if he does have that kind of record, I think that's good for a team that's trying to build. I wonder what he does, if he has any leeway in terms of coach or what happens there.
I hope he cleans house, because let me tell you something. They had pretty terrible coaching and a pretty terrible front office next year. So I think everybody in Detroit is probably rooting for a cleaning of house at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's well overdue, to say the least. And yeah, I would think that's coming.
So we'll see what happens there. Again, if he does have the good record with drafting, I think that's where you kind of hold your head on. ESPN chill it with giving him credit for Zion Williamson, because come on, I don't think anybody can miss that pick.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised.
There was injury concern, but like you're not missing that pick. Come on.
Yeah.
My balling goes out to Anthony Edwards. Won a dunk of the year, block of the year, and photo of the year as voted by fans. Obviously, up at the NBA.com website, you can see the photos and the videos and all those if you want to check on it. But that's awesome for him to get all 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people talk about the next faces of the league, and that's the one thing that this playoffs has made clear. Like, Anthony Edwards is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I did see the bring ass moment live on television. I was watching, Inside the NBA when that happened, and I just I lost it. It's unbelievable. I love the governor of Minnesota putting it in the proclamation. He's just gold. He's gold. And I think the NBA is fine regardless. Like, I've said this, there are a lot of young talent. I mean, Wemby's going to be that as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of star power there for Anthony Edwards, and those are great plays as well. So, not surprised.
Capitalizing on all of it. My Fallin is going to go to, I guess, TNT. There's an interesting situation going on.
It was big TNT. No, you can don't say I guess TNT. You can say TNT, bro.
Okay, so it was reported on Tuesday that the NBA is on the verge of finalizing new media rights with Disney, ESPN, NBC, and Amazon, which, if you're doing the math, would leave TNT without an NBA game, or without NBA games for the first time in, I think, like a decade, 2 decades.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Charles Barkley, clearly not happy about it, called the TNT leaders clowns, and he suggested that his production company could take over inside the NBA. So I wonder if that potentially opens it up for them to be able to be on the broadcast for whatever that would look like. But yeah, I mean, a potential for that halftime show to go away, which has created so many NBA cultural moments. I feel like so many snippets of just hilarious moments, but it's a great halftime show.
It's the best halftime show in sports. Like, it's an absolute travesty that it's going to go away. And I think it's great that we have one more year of it, and that I think we're going to get the most unfiltered version of Inside the NBA we've ever had, which I can't wait for, given how dynamic this crew is. But it's heartbreaking, dude. Like,
when they beat, not to cut you off, when the Celtics beat the Knicks, they were talking to Jason Tatum, and Charles Barkley was trying to bait him to say something bad about Al Horford so hard, And Tatum's like, bro, you're not getting me to say anything bad. He's like, what are you going to do when you play it up against the Pacers and they're just exposing how Al Horford can't run? How are you going to do with this if Al Horford can't defend? And Tatum's like, you can see him just trying to like professionally skirt around the fact that Charles
Yeah.
Barkley is trying to destroy Al Horford on the halftime show. But yeah, man.
And the thing is, there have been rumors for a few years now about Ernie Johnson retiring, and I definitely think that's been something to watch. But yeah, it's brutal. I mean, and the good thing is obviously everybody's pulling the clips up and they're kind of doing their farewell montages and all that. But there are just so many. Like I've been laughing out loud at so many moments, and they're even recently. That's the thing is this show is still good. It's not like this show is just a nostalgia show at this point. Like that clip of when the Pelicans lost, about Charles Barkley talking about how they're not going to Cancun. We're going to send them down to Galveston.
Oh
that dirty
my
ass water.
God.
Like, bro, that is hysterical. Like, that is
You had Beyonce respond. Beyonce was like attacking him.
I did. She was all the Houston residents, that's the beach they go to. And he's like, listen, I had a good time at the beach. The image of him driving the boat is hilarious. Like oh my goodness. Like
the video, the one that I always think of is how him and Kenny, Shaq and Kenny would race to the board.
Oh, yeah.
And when Shaq either got body checked or something, but he ended up in the Christmas tree. It's like, dude, no way.
The two that will just certified get me every time are when Chuck and Shaq are cracking up about when they were going to get in the fight with the Clippers and the Rockets and the police got called. And when they start saying that there was a police presence and that LA was there, oh my goodness, that one is an all-timer. And the other one, which I really forgot about until recently when I watched it, is when Barkley talks about getting the bracelet that he got from his buddy in the steam room. It was just like, dude, it collapses so quick. Kenny Smith is just like, from where? You got the bracelet from where? Like
I'm seeing if I can find the tweet. I think it was a Knicks game or something. I tweeted it out randomly. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back in time to find it. But we gotta at least talk about Luka's press conference with the interesting noise.
Oh my dude.
Luka's face.
Who was watching porn on the Bluetooth? That was crazy. Like, and I get that they take the questions, but like, buddy, you even have that anywhere remotely that it's accessible while you are about to ask a question? Like, how is that open?
That's the craziest thing ever. So I found it, by the way. It was Pacers Knicks. I forget what the announcer, who it was and what they specifically said, but it was something along the lines of like, yeah, you got to make the defender like go and come on your back. And I was like, whoa, what? I was like, you got to make the defender do what?
No, listen. Oh, what a show. What a show.
I was like, halftime show's going to have a field day with this comment. And I don't think anything ever came of it, but I was definitely like, whoa.
Everybody's watching it for sure.
Yeah.
Falling for me this week is everyone who's betting on Bronny to go number 1 overall in the NBA draft. Bronny is like at best projected as a low first rounder. And look, I get the more attraction because it's like, hey, if you draft Bronny, maybe we're going to sign LeBron James. But like, I am just saying to everyone involved in the city of Atlanta and whoever else, Washington's got 2, like all these top teams. If you are betting on LeBron James Jr. to be the first overall pick in this NBA draft, my Venmo is wide open right now. And I would love for you to donate that money to me because I will promise you, I will find something better to do with whatever you are doing with that money than betting on LeBron James because you all are just bankrolling the casinos at this point.
Yeah. I saw he is going to do a workout with the Suns, which would be just infuriating if for whatever reason LeBron went to the Suns now.
Yeah,
because everyone's just good. That's why this is happening, right? At the end of the day, it's more of a LeBron James thing. We will get into it. It's probably a great transition to the firing that happened with the Cavs. Is everything that happens this offseason with the Cavs is going to be tied to LeBron because he went to their playoff game.
He did, and you know what? Listen, that was a little different. Look, I've seen that movie before. That one's a little interesting. And if you bring Donovan Mitchell back on the max, maybe Darius Garland goes out west a little bit and you start to make the dominoes fall. I don't know. It is pretty interesting. I do want to talk about, though, We did this after the first round, but our levels of despair for the eliminated teams in the second round. So the 4 teams that were eliminated, of course, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, the New York Knicks, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I think there are 2 teams here who very clearly are despairing more than the other 2, and both of them reside in the Eastern Conference. I don't know. I guess if I'm doing a quick ranking of these 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going Cleveland, New York, Denver, and Oklahoma City. And then,
yeah,
I mean, Denver, I think, gets points over OKC for me more. Like, OKC is the clear number 4 for me. Like, I think, look, you're the number 1 seed. You're bummed you lost in the second round, but like, your potential is sky high with Gilgeous-Alexander. You got Chet Holmgren. You've got Jalen Williams. You have all the draft picks in the world. You have all the flexibility to go out and chase another star if you want to. Like, again, we see how quickly things can change in the NBA now.
Yes.
But you got to feel pretty good about OKC and their prospects going forward, like, and feel like they're going to be in this position again multiple times. Denver, the only reason I have them higher is just because, like, they won the title last year.
Yeah, you should have been back there.
Yeah, like, you had a very real chance to go and get a second one this year, and you just don't know how long those windows are going to be open. Now, as long as you employ Nikola Jokic, you got to feel pretty good about that window being open pretty long. Like, him and Jamal Murray, you kind of restock the depth a little bit. Like, I think that's one of the big things that, they missed guys like Bruce Brown and Jeff Green for sure this run, but you still went to 7 with Minnesota. That was a very winnable game until down the stretch. Like, again, these chances don't come along that often, and you're coming off a title. So this team is already, proven that it can win. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of a missed opportunity knowing, we also could have gone back to back and kind of put ourselves more in that legendary team conversation.
Yep. Back to back. And then I think Knicks, only from you guys played so well. A lot of your guys on that team are going to get paid now, and you have to decide if it's going to be you or are you going to let them walk essentially.
Yeah.
Which again, do what you got to do. I mean, the Nova Knicks, man, like they all played so well. So let it happen. And then the Cavs, again, it feels like at the end of the day, this is an effort to keep Donovan Mitchell. We'll see.
Yeah, the Knicks, I think, is tough because you have to feel like if they're healthy, and I think Knicks fans rightfully feel if they're healthy, that we really, we got a pretty good chance to beat the Pacers. Like, it took them 7 to beat us with OG not playing most of that series. Josh Hart was Josh Hart was dealing with an injury at the end of it. Like, Brunson broke his hand in game 7. So that's a real late problem. But it's like, Mitch was hurt. Like, they just had guys that were worn out. Like, they really were going through it. And so I think that's disappointing when you go, hey, maybe if OG Anunoby's not on one leg, that we have a pretty good chance to beat the Pacers.
Yeah.
We're back in the conference finals.
And I'll be honest,
a fully healthy team, maybe they do stack up against Boston, given their guys. Bogdanovich went down in the Sixers series. Like, that was one of their big trade deadline acquisitions. Like, again, like you said, and because of having to make the decisions, a guy like Hardenstein is going to get paid a ton of money. Like,
is it going to be you, or are you going to let someone else do it?
Yeah, it just feels like they had a special bond and they were clicking. And so at that point, it's like, you feel good about this team moving forward. And again, as I'll always say with the Knicks, as long as they're competent, you're going to get a meeting with any free agent that becomes available. But yeah, I think just given that you had the opportunity in front of you to go to the conference finals, and you probably do, knowing if you're injured still, or that everybody's healthy, I should say, you feel pretty bummed about missing that opportunity.
Do you put any of the injury that the Knicks dealt with at the end of the season, the minutes that Thibs runs these guys?
Yes and no. Like, they were playing so well when they all played together that it's hard for me to really fault Thibs here. But yeah, when they're putting in heavy minutes in every one of these games, like, you do kind of open yourself up to being gassed, and when you're gassed, injuries happen more like that. So I don't know. Like, I don't fully blame Thibs for that, but it's worth monitoring for sure. Like, Thibs did give these guys all heavy minutes. So I don't want to totally, rule that out either.
Well, and I don't want to either. I just know that he plays a lot of minutes on these guys, and I guess if we go into next season and it's like same book, same story.
Yeah.
You get into the playoffs firing hot, you play well, and then it just seems like everyone's either getting injured or running out of steam. It's like, all right, what are we doing? Like, I would say at depth, but I'm not convinced he's gonna use it. So, like,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know, Cleveland's definitely got the most to me. Mostly, I mean, because it's either Donovan Mitchell is gonna walk or you're probably moving on from Darius Garland. I think the biggest bummer for Cleveland right now is that just Garland and Mobley haven't panned out the way that you would really hope they have.
And does some of that blame get put on the coach, on Bickerstaff, who didn't develop him right? Can you bring someone in that can develop a little bit better? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
part
I
of
mean,
it.
JB's kind of always been a mediocre coach. Like he's bounced around for a while now, so I'm not necessarily surprised at that. And maybe a fresh start will be good for somebody like a Darius Garland because to all implications are that if Donovan Mitchell signs this extension and comes back to
He's
Cleveland,
good.
that Garland is gone and out the door. You got to make a decision if you want to stick with the two big lineup with Mobley and with Jared Allen. They have had some success there when you look at some of the underlying numbers, but I think like this is a team that we've been really kind of looking to make a step right and start contending towards the conference finals. And they just were really flawed. And at points, frankly, it looked like Donovan Mitchell and nobody else. And I think that's just not what you want. Cleveland gave up a lot to get Donovan Mitchell in terms of picks, in terms of young players. Like it was, when you look at it now, and I'm not suggesting this is the wrong move for Cleveland. Like I think in hindsight, it's a lot easier to say that, but it's like, look, you gave up a lot to get Donovan Mitchell, betting that your young guys were going to take the steps, and they just haven't so far. And that's kind of the most disappointing part, and why I think you're a little more despondent than some of these other teams if you're Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree. Bickerstaff went 170 and 159 in the regular season, 6-11 in the playoffs with Cleveland. So we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit. End the show with our Immaculate Grid. Of course, NBA Immaculate Grid, you can always watch on YouTube. Just subscribe to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. For the podcast listeners, though, our columns from left to right this week are the Atlanta Hawks, the Denver Nuggets, and 20,000 career points. Our rows from top to bottom are the Brooklyn Nets, the Orlando Magic, and the Utah Jazz. So I got a bunch that we can kind of start with already. I'm not going to lie. I feel really good about this grid all around.
Okay.
Do you have anybody or anywhere you want to start in particular, Justin?
I want to say, sorry, I'm doing my does Alfred Payton work here move.
I don't think he does. I don't remember him playing for Atlanta. I definitely didn't play for Denver.
No.
And he definitely doesn't have 20,000 points. So,
dude, I'm a little rusty. Hold on. All right, here, hold on. Let me get my Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap works for Jazz Hawks.
Paul Millsap does work for Jazz Hawks. Paul Millsap also works for Jazz and Nuggets.
Oh, yeah. Which one do we think is going to be less? Or do we go him 20,000 points?
I don't think Paul Millsap has 20,000 career points. I'm not there for that. Did Paul Millsap play for Brook? I'm trying to remember if he snuck a year on one of those.
Like a weird,
like the Marcus Aldridge team.
Oh, you know who else works for?
I think he did play for Brooklyn. I think he works for Paul Millsap. Legitimately works for 4 of these boxes. I'm pretty sure.
1, 2, 3, and then maybe 20,000.
I don't think it works for 20,000. I think it works for Denver and Atlanta. I think the lower number will be with Brooklyn and then either Atlanta or Denver. I guess Denver is the one I'm leaning right now.
I'm looking up his totals right now just because I actually kind of want to. You're right. Okay, he doesn't have 20,000.
All right, let me flex a little bit here, just because I want to show that we have some options because I can already rattle a few.
Okay, let's go. Aaron Gordon, by the way, works for Orlando Magic.
Aaron Gordon works for Magic and Nuggets. Gary Harris also works for Magic and Nuggets. Joe Ingles does not work for Magic and Nuggets. Just kidding. I thought that was Jazz for a second. Torian Prince works for Nets and Hawks.
Ooh, Kyle Korver works for Hawks Jazz.
He does work for Hawks and Jazz. Jeff Green, who's always a good guess, works for Nets and Nuggets. DeAndre Jordan works for Nets and Nuggets. Vince Carter works for Nets and Hawks and Magic and Hawks. 20,000 is easy. Like we'll do 20,000.
Wait. Because I feel like did Bol Bol go to the Nuggets at any point?
Your Bol there now.
Is he there now? And when
Yeah.
he was on the Magic.
Yeah, Bol is, or no, actually he's in Phoenix. Just kidding. But he was definitely on the Nuggets and the Magic, confirmed. Like 100%. We can do Bol if you want. I like that guess.
Bol for Magic Nugs?
Yeah, I don't think we used Bol ever, so I'm down.
No, I doubt. Yeah, 3%. There we go. First on the board, Bol, baby.
All right.
Do you think Kyle Korver is going to be low Jazz Hawks?
I don't think Kyle Korver is low ever, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah.
I do think he'd be lower for the Jazz than he would be for Hawks, and actually that's the only one where he works, doesn't he? He didn't play for the Nets.
No.
Yeah, all right. We can do Korver for Jazz Hawks because he was on the Jazz after the Sixers. And then he was on the Hawks on that run with the team with Millsap and Horford, and
was he on the Cavs at one point?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, Korver, you want to go Korver?
Yeah, I'm cool with Kyle Korver.
29, damn it.
That's what I thought, man. Yeah. DeMarre Carroll also was on that team, also works for
Does he work for he's Nets Cavs too, isn't he? DeMarre Carroll? Or is he Raptors?
No, Nets Hawks. That's what I'm saying.
Nets Hawks. Yeah. That's a good one. The LeBron stopper.
Yeah, one of like 9 billion LeBron stoppers.
Should we go, DeMarre?
I'm cool with going DeMarre Carroll. I think he'll be low.
DeMarre Carroll,
his best stint was with the Hawks for sure. All right. Do we want to do Millsap then on Nuggets and Nets? Because I want to put Paul. We can't mention Paul 4 times and then not put him somewhere. And I do think he'll be pretty high for Nugs and Jazz. I think he'll be higher. Okay. So
yep, 3% for Nugs and Nets. Oladipo.
Oladipo does work there. You were right. Like I said, Vince Carter, Oladipo.
Okay. Orlando Magic, Hawks.
Did Mike Miller play for the Hawks? He definitely played for the Magic.
Mike Miller. I don't think so. He was Cavs at one point. He was Heat.
He was Heat.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. I don't feel good about that one necessarily. The 20,000 career points is, like I said, we'll cruise through 20,000 career points. Jazz and Nuggets.
Jazz Nuggets. Jazz Nuggets. DJ Augustine? No.
He might. TJ Augustine I'm quietly finding out, a great guess for a lot of teams.
That's why he's been my go. Jameer Nelson? Did he? Jameer
Nelson definitely played for the Magic.
Yeah, but he definitely
played for Denver. I don't think he played for the Hawks.
Jazz Hawks or Jazz Nugs.
I don't think he played for the Jazz either.
No, I don't think he did. Jazz Nuggets. Okay.
I'm trying to think of
I'm a little stumped here.
No, I know this all of a sudden got hard quick. I felt really confident. And then I'm like, man, should we have used Millsap and Jazz Nuggets just because I don't know anyone else?
I know, right?
Because Bruce Brown would have worked for Nets and Nugs. It's a little chalky, but Bruce Brown would have worked for sure. Dude, you know who works for Jazz and Nuggets? Richard Jefferson works for Jazz and Nuggets. Richard Jefferson is quietly another great Immaculate Grid guest. I'm finding out he played for a lot of random teams at the end of his career.
Yeah.
He definitely played for the Jazz. It was only very briefly, like 1 season tops, and then he ended his career with the Nuggets. So we have that as a backup to go to. But I do.
For here?
I'm 100%.
Okay. Then let's just do it. Richard Jefferson?
Yeah, I'm cool with Richard Jefferson there.
Richard Jefferson. Okay. I'm surprised we haven't started taking out the 20,000 points.
So for the Nets, you got a bunch. You get KD works, Harden works.
Dikembe? Mutombo?
I don't think Dikembe was he on Brooklyn? No, he was on the Nets actually.
He was on Nets. That might be a sneaky one.
I don't think he has 20,000 points though.
Okay.
Kyrie's not quite at 20,000. There's a chance he is by the end of his career, but I don't think he's there yet.
Garnett?
Oh, Garnett definitely does. Yeah, Garnett does. Paul Pierce, I would imagine, does too.
Yeah. Rondo.
Dude, no, Rondo definitely doesn't.
You
Rondo,
don't
I don't
think?
think. Nah, I don't think he scored enough, man.
I want to look it up. We won't be allowed to use it, but I want to look
No,
it up.
that's fine. You can look it up. I'm curious. The other one that I'm
Oh wait,
not.
does Rondo work for Hawks Magic? No, he doesn't. Okay.
No, there's two that I'm really on the fence on that are a little closer. One I'm more confident in than the other, and that is Joe Johnson. I think Joe
Oh
Johnson
wow.
has 20,000 career. The other one I briefly thought Darren Williams. I don't think D Will has 30,000 or 20,000 quite yet. I think he kind of fell off
Okay.
too much towards the end. For Nets, though, the 100% work. Harden does, Durant does. I'm pretty sure Jason Kidd does,
Oh my
honestly.
God. Rondo doesn't even have 10,000.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I believe
Holy moly. I was way off.
Kidd is going to be close because he's a point guard.
Okay.
That's why I'm a little more worried about it. Honestly, Vince Carter might work there too, but my problem is I want to use Vince for our Orlando Atlanta bailout if we need.
Well, we have Oladipo.
Oh yeah, we do have Oladipo.
We've got Oladipo that we could bail out there
Dude,
if we need.
why don't you do this? Why don't we do Oladipo there?
Okay.
And then why don't we do wait, hang on. When did Oladipo play for the Hawks?
Didn't he go to the Hawks before the Heat? Or was that
he was on the Magic, he was on the Thunder, he was
Rockets?
on the Pacers, the Rockets.
Then wasn't it Hawks?
I don't think so, dude. He might have gone Rockets Heat.
Ooh. Okay, I might have just almost screwed us up.
We're gonna think no, that's fine because I want to use Vince. I would want to use Vince Carter as 20,000 for Orlando because I think that'll be really low.
Oh, Dwight Howard then. Dwight definitely works there.
Yeah, Dwight definitely works there. Yeah, we can use Dwight there because Dwight will be less for there than 20,000. It'll be high, but whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe it, dude. I don't think there's a lot of Hawks and Magic that overlap. I'm really struggling to think of another one. Like maybe DJ Augustine works there. I know he played for the Magic for sure.
I always, whenever I think of Orlando Magic, I just try to go Ilyasova. I don't know if he works for the Hawks, but I just always try to go Ilyasova.
I want to look up DJ Augustine. No, DJ Augustine actually wouldn't have worked there.
Would Schroeder have worked? Because that's usually my go-to with the Hawks too.
No, Dennis definitely didn't play for. He didn't play for Orlando. That I'm positive about. All right, so for Magic and 20,000, let's do Vince Carter.
Oh, know what? We're idiots because we literally talked about him at the beginning of the episode. Zaza Pachulia works there. Damn it.
Oh my God, you're right. That's so funny.
He definitely works there. We literally talked about him. Oh.
No, that's hysterical. Yeah, I mean, other Magic 20,000 guys, T-Mac, Shaq, Dwight, who we used already, would work for 20K. I think Vince is the obvious one there if we're not going to do Shaq.
Who do we think's used less? Vince doesn't
Carter.
work for the other two, so
Vince Carter does work for the Nets. He doesn't work for the Jazz. But we have other people for the Nets.
But Vince Carter might be used less for the Nets because of that?
Yeah.
He might be more rare is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you're gonna make one of them go high no matter what. Because I don't have dude, unless you want to do Joe Johnson for the Nets and Vince Carter for the Magic. I think Joe is low.
Do you think Rudy Gay has 20?
No, I don't.
Okay.
He's got a lot, but I don't think he has 20.
Boris Diaw, didn't he go there?
Oh, no way. Diaw's got 20. He's a role player. Gay has a better chance than Diaw does.
All right, let's do T-Mac, Joe, and then we can figure out Jazz.
Wait, hang on. You're doing T-Mac? You want to do Vince Carter? Where are we doing Vince Carter?
I mean Vince Carter. Sorry, Vince Carter.
Yeah, I'm cool with Vince Carter or Joe, and I will fully take the L if Joe Johnson is not the answer, but I'm pretty positive about it.
With 6%, Vince Carter.
Okay, higher than I expected, honestly, but like I can live with that. Joe, I'm nervous, but I feel good.
Yep.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yep.
I was putting it on there a little bit.
All right. For Jazz, 20K.
I mean, Karl Malone's the easy answer. John Stockton probably had. I would be surprised if John Stockton didn't have 20K.
Yeah.
If we want to go with, if we want to go with a boomer guy, I don't think Pete Maravich played for the Jazz, but I don't think he had anywhere near 20,000 points. And so I'm tough with that one. God, I don't want to use Malone. Malone is so chalky, but like I don't think there's anyone who's been there recently who would be at 20,000 either. That's the thing. Like they've had good squads, but not like 20,000. Like I don't think Al Jefferson has 20,000. I don't think like a Carlos Boozer has 20,000. We already went over D Will. I'm not just convinced at all enough about D Will.
Yeah, I think Donovan's too young.
Young. Gobert's not an offensive guy like that. God, it's so gross. We might have to go with Karl Malone. Like, I can't think of anybody else. It's gross for multiple reasons, but like, I really can't think of anybody else.
I think you're right. I think we just have to do it.
Yeah. All right. Karl Malone. It'll be right. At least I know that.
Yeah.
I want to know how close Maravich is. I'm gonna look up Pete Maravich. He's the only other one that I can kind of think of.
Karl Malone, chalky, 195 rarity score.
That's not bad for the chalk though. Only 5
work.
All right.
Wait. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, why is LeBron showing up on this list?
All right. Well, let's go down to the most popular real quick before we look at who works, if you don't mind scrolling down.
Oh, yep.
So the most popular answers for Nets and Hawks was Vince Carter. For Nets and Nuggets was Bruce Brown. For Nets and 20,000 was KD. For Magic and Hawks was Dwight Howard. For Magic and Nuggets was Aaron Gordon. For Magic 20K was Shaq. For Jazz and Hawks was Kyle Korver. For Jazz and Nuggets was Jeff Green. And for Jazz 20K was Karl Malone. 87% for Shaq and the Magic. That surprised me. But I guess if you're using Dwight, that does take a lot out. 89% for Karl Malone. Again, that's kind of the same deal with me. Like
Joe Johnson worked for the Jazz.
Oh, he did, dude. He played for the Jazz at the end. Wow. Okay. Damn. Oh man, that's tough.
Adrian Dantley and Tom.
Dantley's always a good NBA guess, man.
Tom Chambers. That's another one.
Tom Chambers is literally the lowest 20. He just beat it by 49. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, Tom Chambers had 20,049 points. He played for the Jazz for 3 seasons between 93 and 95. Joe Johnson does work. You're right.
Damn, that hurts.
Let me see. I want to see who else is Jazz there. Karl Malone is the obvious one. We got that. Adrian Dantley's on a lot of these lists. I got to start using them more. Walt Bellamy. Okay, that's super. I would have never super boomer. Okay,
38%. Jazz and Nuggets was the hardest one.
Dude, know who works for the Magic? That's
options.
probably the rarest one. Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins last season was with the Magic in 99. Because the other one, or Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing ended with the Magic. That's right. That would have worked too. Because it's Ewing, Vince, Shaq, and Wilkins. And Shaq and Ewing and Wilkins, you obviously associate with Atlanta and New York. So never go to Orlando there. Yeah, the Nets got a little bit more. My bad. We're going to do all these real quick. So the Nets have KD. The Nets have Joe Johnson. The Nets have Vince Carter. The Nets have James Harden. Nets have Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, who we mentioned. Yeah, Vince Carter. Jason Kidd did not. No. Pete Maravich did not either, for the record. Oh, LaMarcus Aldridge would have worked for 20K in the Nets.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's got 20,558. He's a little bit above Joe Johnson.
Okay.
So, all right, not bad though. Just to recap our grid one last time, we had Damari Carroll for Nets and Hawks, Paul Millsap for Nets and Nugs, Joe Johnson, Nets 20K, Magic, Vince Carter 20K, Magic and Nugs, Bol, Magic and Hawks, Dwight Howard, Jazz and Hawks, Kyle Korver, Jazz and Nugs, Richard Jefferson, and Jazz 20K plus Karl Malone. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, and where you find a podcast, you can find us.
And we're on YouTube. Just search Driving Dish NBA on YouTube. You can follow along and watch the video versions. Obviously, the Immaculate Grid has a visual element to it, and you can find it there.